people, more than 22 million people in the United States use illegal drugs. One of those 22 million could be you or could be someone around you. Users being sent to jail and rehab have been an increasing rate for a while in the United States. Imagine you're sitting in a 6x8 cell. You'd be thinking, what's the point? People who get sent to jail might relapse more quickly after being in jail instead of rehab. I, Amy, have searched drug use and the effects it has on your body and the effects of going to rehab and jail.
I have witnessed it firsthand with the effects my mom has been through it.
And I have researched how drugs came to the U.S. and how people can abuse them.
Addicts around us need help. There are a lot of rehab centers around us in Fargo that can help tons of addicts struggling with addiction. We need to give addicts the confidence to go get help that they need. Today we're going to talk about what has caused people to use drugs and the effects of drugs on your body and why rehab is a better option than sending the addicts straight to jail. Now I'm going to hand it over to Nicole so she can talk about what has caused users to become addicted.
Thank you, Amy. First, I will talk about when the most abused drugs came to the U.S. and how someone can become an abuser. All drugs that are in America today have been imported to us. Today in the U.S., according to Jennifer Scott in her article on Everyday Health accessed on March 28, 2017, marijuana, cocaine, meth, and heroin are the most abused drugs, but the appearance of drugs in the States was widely spread out over time. Marijuana came to America in the 1600s and was primarily used as a strong fiber for sails, ropes, and clothes. A little bit after, in the 1850s, people could go to the pharmacies or stores to purchase it. However, methamphetamine was used by the Japanese in World War II to increase the endurance and overall alertness of their soldiers. After the war, it slowly made its way to the U.S. and many groups of people started to use it. With more drugs around, people started to use more and soon began to abuse them. According to George Gobes in his 1997 article, Drug Abuse, Hedonic Homeostatic Dysregulation, there are many factors that influence a person's decision to abuse drugs. Some of these reasons are availability, stress, and current life situations. For some people in different situations, some drugs have more effect on them, so they continue to search for one that gives them the most satisfying feeling. Friends can also cause people to fall under the influence of drugs. Being surrounded by people who use drugs can add even more pressure to a person to try it. On the other hand, when people get rejected by their peers, they result to a temporary satisfaction that has major tolls on their body. Now, Mariah is going to talk about the effects of drugs.
So there are many effects that meth does on the body. Not only does it cause weight loss and high blood pressure, it can cause life-threatening issues and slowly shut the body down. There are many side effects that the central nervous system stimulant does, including heart attacks, increased euphoria, alertness, and decreased appetite, which can eventually bring the addict down the wrong path. According to Need for Speed, an update on meth addiction, acute effects on neurotransmitter release are feelings of euphoria, well-being, no appetite, but they're not just acute effects, there are immediate effects. Many meth users do meth because of the immediate euphoria, but there's also the issue of high blood pressure, which can lead to stroke, muscle cramps, and there's also psychological effects such as anxiety, aggression, and paranoia, and even hallucinations. When an addict is coming down from a high, they can experience fatigue, soreness, anger, and I watched my mom go through this. Now I'm going to talk about the effects of rehab and jail. If you give an addict a choice if they want to go to jail or rehab, many of them are going to choose rehab. While you're in rehab, you still can have a life outside of the center, but in jail you are stuck in there. Unless you get work release, then you can work. Treatment is more relaxed and it gets addicts help. They can see counselors, they get to still see their family. We're trying to help them get back on their feet to prevent further relapse. My mom did 38 days in treatment, and after only 3 months, she relapsed. And out of the 6 girls that my mom went to treatment with, only 1 has stayed clean to this day. They're not all active users, but have gone back to meth at least once. Some addicts come out of jail with more connects than they did coming in. If an addict wants drugs, they are going to find it. They don't just fall out of the sky and land in their hands, they will look for it. In jail, you're not getting help like you are in rehab. County jails also don't offer very many programs. Some prisons offer programs for addicts, but there are any meetings, but drugs can find their way to them too. And also, some addicts go to jail so many times that when they get there, they feel like they're the kingpin, and the fact that they're in jail or prison doesn't really affect them anymore. People look at them as if they're the boss, and they look for drugs from them, which can lead to the addict to follow the path of drug use. Now I'm going to hand it back to Amy, and she's going to talk about the possible solutions to this problem.
People who use illegal drugs need help, not just going to be sent to jail. There are multiple rehab centers that can help addicts stop using, and the addicts need support from people around them. Research has shown that addicts relapsing once they get out of jail is more likely, so instead of just sending them right to jail, we should send them to rehab. In jail, addicts don't get the help that they need. So when they get out of jail, they relapse. Rehab centers and facilities are great resources for addicts so they can get the help they need to stop using. In Fargo, there are 6 rehab centers that people can go to get the help that they need. It's really easy with contacting them. You can either call them or you can show up at one of their facilities and talk to them about getting the person that needs help in there. Also, people who use drugs, illegal drugs, aren't in a deep place. They need people around them to help them and be there for them. The people you hang out with can either have a huge effect on whether you do drugs or whether you don't do drugs. For example, if you hang out with a lot of people who do drugs, there's more likely chance that you're going to end up doing them. And then if you don't hang out with people who don't do them, there's a chance that you probably won't do them. Drug addicts need support of people in their lives to help them recover. The last thing they need is to be around people who do drugs when they come out of jail or rehab. And then they can potentially relapse. Another thing is we need to reach out to the addicts around you and around us and help them get the help that they need. Push them to do better and simply just be there for them because that's what they need. Now I'm going to hand it over to Nicole to conclude our speech.
Confidence is key for helping people who are struggling with addiction and getting them help at the multiple rehab centers here in Fargo. We have talked about what causes people to become addicted to drugs, the effects they have on the body, and why rehab centers are more effective than a jail sentence. Addicts aren't bad people, they just need a little help. And we are asking you to have confidence or give confidence to go to rehab.